Okay, but I think what I would also advise you, Farhan, to read about it also, because if you're going to develop a website, this is going to take you more than just one interview. So, like I said, start looking for the biological classification system of this species. And you will also figure out that this particular genus belongs to how many species, and then what is the scientific name of the house sparrow. And then this will also help you to understand that there are different subspecies. So subspecies is basically a different type of species which basically evolve within the same species. So for example, it can have Pastor domesticus, but the subspecies might have a name, Pastor domesticus, and then another name linked to it. Again, look for some credible biological information for this, right? Because the subspecies is usually part of the same species, but since they live in different population, so they develop those characters basically, which basically then kind of separate them out from the others, other individuals in different population. Acha, so this is what that needs to go into your main page of the website. And also think about, you want to talk about the geographic distribution range, right? So where are they found? So the information is easily available. So you can always look at that the distribution range. And we did discuss this last time that, they have a very wide distribution range globally.
Hmm.
And then how they are associated to those habitats which are evolved, especially, in the human dominated structures and in the urban settlements. So we talked about it. So I'm not gonna go to that, because I mean, I think you can easily search more information and build upon what we discussed.
And actually, I did research about like the distribution of them, their nesting, their
Excellent.
eggs.
Very good. Very good. So maybe your website should have a map of the world, and the map could show you, for example, the people who are joining or looking at the website is that okay. So the idea is the map tells them that this is such a broaderly distributed species. And one thing that you might want to add is, and that I think you have not really touched bases on your questions also, is what is the current conservation status, right? So IUCN Red List of Threatened Species is a global sort of a status of any species in terms of, how they are doing for their conservation. So if it's listed in the, for example, in certain categories, it tells you, okay, how much this species is in problem. So look for the IUCN Red List of the threatened species. Add the global conservation status here. This is going to add a lot of value to your website, because this also brings in a credibility that, oh, really, so now we understand, even though the species has a global distribution range, but look at the problems it's facing right now. And which is why, and the red list is also good for you, because if you read through it, it will also let you know that, what's happening in terms of the threats, what is going on with the population, are they decreasing or increasing? And sometimes some species are not even listed in there, but always good to take a look to see. So this species right now is listed as least concerned in the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. And I'm going to copy and paste this link in the chat box for you. Please go through it. This will give you some very useful information already that you can build upon and extract the content for your website, right? It has some really beautiful maps of the distribution. It also tells you where is it found, where is it not found, where are they introduced and blah. It also tells you, all the biological classification system that I just explained to you. Also, it tells you that what's the approximate number of the individuals that might be found globally, what is happening to the populations, are they increasing or decreasing? And then this will give you some really amazing categories of the threats. So, like we discussed last time, the habitat fragmentation is a bigger problem. There are threats which are emerging, for example, from the agricultural practices, from the waste management practices. So you will find everything in one place. So I think it's a good starting point for you to read through it and see if you might would like to maybe structure your website according to it. Really good ideas that you can pick some of it, right? So this is one quick link for you. And also there are a lot of organizations which are working on the bird species. So also give a read to how they are managing the profiles of the birds when they are doing it on their websites. They give you some really cool ideas. For example, so there is another organization. It's called RSPB, the Royal Society of the Protection of the Birds, I think. They have developed a really, really nice page on, on the house sparrows. Again, you can like hear how do they sound like. For example, you can look at the scientific name, you can see where they are found, you can see how they look like, what are the sizes, for example, how does the male look like, how does the female look like, can you distinguish between the two, because it's a dimorphic species, which means that maybe you can find the visible differences, or maybe you won't be able to find differences. So I mean, the website is really cool, and I really like how they've generated the map. The website also shows you a very nice video of the species individuals. I'm going to leave the link for you here. Go through it, and this is going to give you a very good idea to how you might want to also structure the thing. And it's a science-based organization, so you can really trust the information that they put have in there. Another very good organization, and I think the credible source could be the National Geographic itself. So the National Geographic has done something very similar, and it kinds of, I think, also it tells you how do you want to structure things, because it's a similar species. So like how the vocalization work, how the male and female are like interacting with each other. There's a lot about behaviors. So go through this website as well. So I'm adding the links into the chat box, so please do copy them before you end the call, so that you can use this information. So they are all going to be your good guiding documents to how do you want to structure the website. And I think, and so this will basically kind of help you to gather all the biological questions ka answer. For your guidance, I've also written up some very short responses that I can share with you, and probably you can take a look to them and use them as you might would like to do it. But now this is all biological information and the behavioral information that we can pick up from these sites and the available information. There is a lot about the threats which is available. Uh, I think the important part, and that's what I really liked about what you highlighted last time, and I thought it was a really good passion subject, that how individuals can be supportive to protect these species, and also to address the threats they are facing. And your idea, for example, to putting out the bird feeders, being responsible citizens, should make a separate part of your website. So all the pages, and then one page would just say, what can you do to protect, for example, these species? So try to maybe just build a page, and then you can say maybe you can support simply by just helping to build a small bird feeder which can attract more sparrows, for example. You can just encourage them to do small steps, like maybe planting a tree. You can maybe encourage them to do the steps which can reduce the practices such as the improper management of waste, that can help actually really to address this issue, right? So, and I think if you do it, I feel this is going to be a very good passion project that you can build upon. And also, maybe look for some really cool stuff. Like, is that something that you want people to know about this? Maybe some cool facts that everybody would like to read about, right? So, okay, so maybe just look for some literature, the people who researched about them, that, okay, maybe do they have something very distinct that no one else has done it, for example, or maybe they have something very different which no one else has done it. If there is something very interesting, including to their evolution, for example. So, for example, um, I'm not sure if it's a fact, but it's a very interesting one that I read somewhere, that they probably the species can swim if it comes to survival. So maybe you can look for information like that, which makes them very distinguished species. So, I mean, think about adding that information into your work as well. So there are these three links, and I'm going to also put a couple more for you, because I thought those websites are going to be very helpful for you as well. And if you remind, or I mean, maybe also look for something that I wanted to also refer to you, because so there aren't a lot of research publications available in Pakistan's context. But what would be really nice for you to have a page where you can sort of put links to all the research which is published for house sparrows in Pakistan, because it will be cool for people to see, oh, there is a lot going on in Pakistan in terms of research. So maybe try to look for those papers, maybe which somebody has published, which I'm sure aren't going to be a lot. But if you do that, I think this is going to make your website quite interesting and catchy. So those were a couple of ideas that I have in my mind. And then you just start something, and if you have further questions, always come back, and I'm happy to like give you answers that you want to add. And also, since yes, one word that I wanted to advise that I wanted to give you, that since you're developing a website for a species which is very important, and it's also a scientific research based work, so whatever you write, please make sure you add a reference towards the end, so that people know that the information has come from a very credible source. And this is the key to develop any science based information, that if I look at it, I know, okay, this website is credible because the person has done their research, the person understands it. So I have put in a couple of research papers. Now, those are the papers that people have generated after they have spent a lot of time in the field, in their labs, in their studying courses, reading for these species, working on these species, and now they have published something which is credible and scientifically also acceptable. So all the links are going into the chat. So please download them all, give them a read so that you can use them for your website. What else can, and then also I'm going to leave a link for you for this really interesting search portal, Google Scholar, which basically gives you an access to all the published information, which is accepted by the scientific community and often used for the scientific navigation and publication. So this will give you a good idea to what is going on with house sparrows research in Pakistan. So they're like these 8, 9 links should be able to answer all the questions that you need, and also will help you to build the structure. And once you have it ready, I'm happy to have more conversation with you to see, I mean, where we can take it.
Right, you really shared some like important information and like suggested some ideas that are like really effective. They're like such good ideas. Would you like to go into like would you like to go into a bit like detail of like what kind of bird feeder would be like a good sort of bird feeder? What would be a helpful bird feeder?
So are we, so sorry, no, so now we're not talking about the website. Are we done with the website? Now do you want to talk about bird feeder? Like how
So
we
like
doing it? Because I understood that you're working on the website. So we're giving you the information for the website, but now you also want to know the bird feeder, or do you want to teach people how to build a bird feeder for sparrows?
yes, so I want to make a bird feeder. Like I want to make a bird feeder, and I want to tell people how they can make effective bird feeders too.
Good.
So yeah.
Okay, so I think there are again so many ways you can do it. And so let me again send you a couple of links that we found for you helpful, that you can probably use. I mean, I think it's so simple. And I think that is what you should also be doing, by the way. Other than just telling people that, oh, they can do a lot more scientific, you can just start maybe encouraging them that they can just start to put things out there. For example, even a plate which is full of seed, because if you recall, remember the discussion you and I had the last time, we did talk about the feeding behavior of the species, right? And we did talk about what they prefer to eat and what they do not prefer to eat. So anything that they eat basically can just be put aside in a very small plate, for example. There can be just some water, for example, filling points to what you want to do, maybe more. So I'm just going to send you this really cool site again that we used initially, and we helped students in at some point they were using those ideas. So your website should be giving them those cool ideas to say you can start by just putting out, for example, a plate that has the seeds inside, so the birds can, for example, just come in and feed. to maybe make it more attractive and fascinating to, so I'm just sending you a couple of more links that you can use to reach out to this information as well, right? Okay.
Yes, I did copy these links.
Excellent.
One more thing. I, while researching, I found like lots of information about like various other topics, but about the conditions that like house sparrows need. So like the temperature they need, the humidity they need, when they land on the ground, the type of soil they think is the best for them. Can you shed some light on that? Because I couldn't find anything.
Okay, so my question to you is again, now I have two things that I understand you want to do. Why do you need this information? What is your interest? And the reason I asked you this question is that it will help you to clarify the need of asking this question and in what context it will fit in. So can you elaborate this further to me first?
Yes. So on my website, it'll when you'll go on the website, you'll
Do
like
you have a
see.
link of, do you have a link to the website? Can I see it if it's available?
I haven't like started making it yet because I started like writing all the things that'll go on it on Word, and then I'll be, copying all the things that I like wrote on Word onto the website when I like start designing it. But I did make a website on Indus River dolphins a while back for a school project, and I did interview another like WWF conservationist.
I work on this species. That is a species I've been working on for the past 15 years.
Oh, that's fascinating. But I interviewed Dr. Uzma.
That is,
And
she is my senior, exactly.
yes, so she also shared like some really like good information for the website. So this website is sort of like really
Okay,
it is
so answer me that question. The conditions, why do you want to put up to that question, that condition?
so that people could sort of know that like just know more information about it. So what kind of conditions they need, the temperature they
Okay.
need.
So I think, yeah, let's just stop here. And I kind of sense that this is what you were thinking. So listen, when you work on the wildlife species, and since now you have a good idea about the Indus dolphin as well, um, and I'm sure when you have spoken to Dr. Uzma, she did not tell you that, oh, they need this temperature or they need this kind of water or they need maybe this type of thing. So for the wildlife species, we usually refer the term habitat, right? So habitat is what defines their enabling conditions. Okay, so this is the kind of habitat they want to live in. This is the kind of, so the habitat sort of defines, okay, because they are very adaptable species, this house sparrow, and they can adapt to a lot of temperatures, a lot of circumstances, a lot of region, and this is why they are wide ranging, so they are found in Africa and Asia and Europe, for example, in North America. So they are a wide ranging species, and the temperature varies. But what I would recommend and suggest you to is look for their habitat. And again, I think we did discuss about it that so their habitat is basically quite human linked. So they kind of live into a lot of areas which are very specific to where human can live. So they're very adaptive species. But you do add a section onto their website that talks about their habitat. So then you can say, okay, they prefer to live, for example, in the natural habitats that include forests, maybe meadows, grasslands, deserts, woodlands, and even, the areas which are very close to human settlements and stuff. And then you can say they're very adaptive species to temperature conditions and many such things, and which is why they are able to survive to a range of habitat that they have. So I'm going to paste some useful text for you below that you might would like to take a look and read. Okay, so we have 5 more minutes before we finish because I have another call to run to. So if there aren't any pressing questions, we can, I think, finish. And then you can start to build your website and come back when you have something ready and we can discuss this further, right?
Yes, sure. But like to conclude, would you like to like share some words for like about the wildlife community, like for the people of Pakistan, like sort of tell them what they can do?
Okay, so there is a lot that people can do for the wildlife in Pakistan, right? So being more aware about that wildlife is there and it is very important. And their existence and survival is linked to our careful practices and consideration is an important point. Birds make up a very important component of our ecosystem because God has created every species for a reason. And in most of the cases, all the wildlife species or the ecosystem and the habitats that they are here, they provide us some support, and those essential support, we call them ecosystem services. And without them, we cannot survive. So it is our equal responsibility to be mindful of what our responsibilities are towards wildlife, but also we need to practice some very specific rituals which are important to consider. So if, for example, you're going to a natural area, please do not create litter, please do not destroy their habitats. You should not be part of, so plastic waste, for example, is a big problem. So how do we become more responsible citizens that we are not part of it, for example? So there are many things that individuals can do, but just keep looking for but being a responsible citizen is the first point to be the people that we want to do.
Right. And I also shared, the link of my Indus River Dolphin website if you want to see that.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. Oh, it looks very similar to WWF's website. You know, the atmosphere, like the outlook is very similar to what WWF's website would look like. So where is the page on the Indus River Dolphin?
If you went on to like the three lines on the side menu
Yeah, yeah.
and you
Right.
clicked more
Yeah.
and then Indus River Dolphin.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. That's very pretty. See, so you've added habitat. I'm so glad you did it. So the species, yeah. So there are 6 of them now. Very nice. And yeah, so see, you've done it all. So exactly, you need to do something very similar for this bird species as well.
Thank you so much for this interview. You enlightened us with like so much important information about house sparrows and like what we can do, how we can be responsible citizens. So yeah, thank you so much for this interview. I hope you have a
No
really
problem. And you know what I'll do is, because today I did not give you a lot of information. This is just for you to uh, pick up the ideas for the website. I'll also send you the link to the previous interview, and I think you can pick up a lot of information from that to use as an interview, right? Would that work for you?
yes, but like where did you send the
I
link
will
for the
send you now both links together. Would that
okay,
work for you? Okay. So
yes,
I'm going to
yes.
stop the recording.